We're only at the first house and I'm beat.
At first glance, Olive, the Other Reindeer, 1999, is just a funny little story about a dog who mishears a Christmas song and runs off to save Christmas. But when you rewatch it as an adult, things start to feel much stranger. A single lyric twisted into Olive, the Other Reindeer is enough for a lonely soul to build an entire destiny around her name. A dog trying to forget she's a dog because she can't stand feeling ordinary. A man who hates Christmas, hiding his bitterness behind rules and safety regulations. And an Olive who keeps repeating the same pattern. Always taking the blame, always forgiving, just so she doesn't become as bitter as the one trying to ruin the holiday. Behind the mission to save Santa's flight is a quiet struggle with one haunting question. Am I a dog, a reindeer, or just a misheard name? In this video, we're going to uncover 16 of the strangest hidden secrets in Olive, the Other Reindeer, 1999, that you only truly notice once you've grown up. Part 1. When a misheard lyric turns into destiny.
Valentine's Day and the 4th of July, I'm a little bit sad.
Olive has heard Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer year after year, but that year her ears slipped. The line, all of the other reindeer, lands in her mind as Olive, the Other Reindeer. In the head of a dog who has always felt a little different, a long, empty space is suddenly filled. Maybe she isn't just a weird dog, but the other reindeer named in the Christmas song. She doesn't stop to fact-check, because the hunger to belong is stronger than logic. Watching as an adult, you realize how strange this is. A single misheard phrase is enough for Olive to construct an entire destiny and clutch it as proof that she no longer has to be the extra animal in Tim's world. From that moment on, she starts acting as if the universe has officially called her name. Part 2. A dog trying to forget she's a dog. Olive doesn't bark much, doesn't chase sticks, doesn't daydream about bones, the things a normal dog would do. She plays word games, gives thoughtful gifts to Tim, and collects scraps of Christmas lore to patch into the empty space inside her. Every time Fido, the flea who never stops needling her, reminds Olive, "You're a dog, not a reindeer," she reacts the same way. Ears droop, a brief silence. Then she pretends not to hear. That pattern repeats. Whenever reality reminds her that she has 4 paws, a wagging tail, and no antlers, Olive steps more firmly into the misheard lyric so she can feel above her just a dog status. Adults see that this isn't just childish fantasy, it's a desperate attempt to escape the label of not good enough dog she's been carrying for a long time. Part 3. The guilt when Tim says no Christmas this year. When Tim gloomily says there won't be Christmas this year after everything goes wrong, Olive stands in the corner, eyes down, heart tight. She can't explain it in full, but inside, she quietly blames herself. If she were a better dog, a more perfect companion, maybe Tim wouldn't be so worn out that he wants to cancel the holiday entirely. Every sigh from Tim, every bad news report about Santa's flight on the radio makes Olive shrink a little more, as if every bad thing in the world is somehow tied to her failure to be reindeer enough. As an adult, you recognize this as a very grown-up kind of guilt. When a sensitive heart doesn't get reassurance, it tends to gather everything beyond its control onto its own shoulders, and then believes, if I can't fix it, the least I can do is try harder. Part 4. Leaving home is the first time she chooses herself. Not just Tim. Olive leaves Tim behind and sets out to find Santa to save Christmas. On the surface, it's a sacrifice for her owner. But inside, it's also the first sharp turn where she allows herself to prioritize her own story. If Santa really needs the other reindeer, If the reindeer team truly has an empty spot waiting, then Olive doesn't want to be left outside it anymore. The old pattern of always stay, always be the good dog is broken the moment she walks out the door. Adults see how quietly radical this is. A house dog, whose world has always revolved around her human, suddenly chooses a different orbit. Not out of anger, but because she can't bear the thought that she was born only to curl up within four walls and be told there'll be no Christmas this year. Part 5. Martini, the crooked mirror of Olive's faith. Martini is a penguin who sells knockoffs, lies easily, and survives on little scams. Olive figures that out quickly, but keeps forgiving him. She hears his slippery promises and half-truths, yet instead of being wary, she chooses to believe the more charming parts of his behavior. The enthusiasm, the times he comes back to help, the jokes that lighten the mood. Every time Martini is about to pull a fast one and then changes his mind because of Olive, a new pattern appears. She has the strange ability to make practical, selfish types feel ashamed of themselves. Adults notice that Olive repeats the same belief over and over. If she is sincere enough and patient enough, even the bad ones will turn around. It's strange that this naive faith isn't entirely wrong, but it does keep putting Olive in the hands of people who don't always deserve her trust. Part 6. The mailman who hates Christmas, turning personal bitterness into policy. The grouchy mailman wants to cancel Santa's flight because he hates Christmas. He hates letters, hates presents, hates the bustle, because to him, those things mean overload, noise, and feeling used. From Olive's point of view, he is the cold wall, blocking not just her physical journey, but the very idea that Christmas brings people together. The strange thing is, he doesn't just complain. He acts, sabotaging, tampering, hiding behind safety and regulations to justify wanting everything shut down. His negative behavior repeats. Whenever he sees someone believing in something good, he tries to twist it, as if punishing the world for holidays that once left him out in the cold. Olive is afraid of him, but beneath that fear lurks an uncomfortable question. If she can't prove Christmas is truly worth saving, is he maybe not entirely wrong? Part 7. Olive's habit of taking all the blame. When things spin out of control, the journey is delayed, the plan is in danger, Santa hesitates. Olive is usually the first to say, "Maybe it's my fault." She apologizes for believing in the lyric, for dragging Martini into trouble, for not helping Santa fly. That pattern becomes reflex. Instead of focusing on the people who deliberately did harm, like the mailman, Olive turns inward and dissects her own choices. Adults see something painfully familiar. The gentlest, least dangerous people are often the quickest to condemn themselves. And because she constantly self-blames, Olive doesn't fully see how often she's the victim of other people's selfish decisions. Part 8. The sting of being called just a dog in the middle of the reindeer team. When Olive finally reaches the North Pole, the real reindeer don't quite know what to make of her. Some laugh, some look suspicious, several eyes scan her small paws, lack of hooves, lack of antlers. Olive hears the old line, "You're just a dog," echoed again, this time in the place she thought would finally be where she belongs. Ironically, by then, she's more used to introducing herself as the other reindeer than a dog. Adults feel the sharp dissonance. Clinging to a new identity doesn't stop the world from seeing you with its old labels. It just makes the collision hurt more when you're snapped back to biological reality. But instead of giving up, Olive decides to use the very things that are most dog about her, her hearing, her speed, her loyalty, to prove that what's on your head matters less than what's beating in your chest. Part 9. Every bus ride is a test of belief. On the road to the North Pole, Olive is mocked repeatedly for calling herself a reindeer. On the bus, passengers gossip, joke about her, even treat her like moving entertainment. That pattern repeats whenever Olive speaks up. I'm Olive, the other reindeer. She's met with laughter or pity. The only difference is how she responds. At first, her ears drop and she steps back. Later, she still hurts, but she learns to keep her back straight and continue explaining, as if practicing saying out loud a belief she previously only dared hold inside. Adults realize the buses in the story are more than transport. They're little classrooms where Olive learns to hold on to her sense of self in crowds that love to stick labels on people. Part 10. Even when Santa wavers, Olive has to be the last believer. It isn't just strangers who doubt Olive. Even Santa isn't initially sure if using a dog who claims to be a reindeer is a good idea. He sees she's small, can't fly, and has no antlers to pull the sleigh. Each moment of Santa's hesitation is another pin in Olive's thin layer of confidence. Strangely, she doesn't blame him. She blames herself for not proving enough. The old habit of self-blame kicks in again, and she quietly accepts an impossible job, believing on behalf of people who've already lost faith, and holding herself together even as they, Santa included, keep wavering. It's a burden adults know too well, becoming the last optimist in the room, exhausted but afraid to stop believing, convinced everything will collapse if you do. Part 11. The mailman again, an adult hiding cruelty behind the rules. Olive's main antagonist constantly cites regulations, safety, and policy to block Christmas. Every time he does something nasty, sabotaging, intercepting, setting traps, he wraps his actions in the language of just doing my job. Olive doesn't grasp all the tricks, but she feels the unfairness. If the rules always seem to favor people who hate joy, does justice really exist? His frightening pattern is this. He never admits he hates Christmas because of personal pain. He hides behind supposedly objective reasons, turning his bitterness into duty. Adults shiver, recognizing how often they've met, or accidentally become, people who use procedure to snuff out something good they don't have the courage to face honestly. Part 12. Olive forgives over and over, not because she's naive, but because she's afraid of becoming bitter. Martini deceives her and comes back. Other side characters slip between selfishness and kindness. Olive rarely stays angry for long. Each time she's betrayed, she hurts, but her instinct isn't, I'm done with you forever. It's, is there one more chance I can give? This forgiving pattern repeats so often it can look like simple naivety. But look deeper, and adults see Olive's fear. If she starts hardening, closing every door, refusing every possibility of change, she'll become just like the mailman, someone who let the holiday sour inside him, then set out to ruin it for everyone else. For Olive, forgiveness is a way of reminding herself, I don't want to become the dark version of myself when things go wrong. Part 13. When being the wrong species turns out to be the perfect solution. In many scenes, it's precisely because Olive is a dog and not a reindeer that things get fixed. Her nose tracks clues, her small body fits in tight spaces, her dogged loyalty keeps her from quitting. The very traits others say don't count as reindeer skills repeatedly become the missing pieces no one else can supply. This odd pattern recurs to the very end. Whenever someone throws out, but you're just a dog, the story soon shows that being just a dog is exactly what the situation needed. Adults recognize this as more than a simple be yourself message. It's a quiet warning that the stricter society is about the right type. The easier it is to overlook solutions that come from those who supposedly don't belong. Part 14. The strange power of words. When a lyric decides reality, everything starts with a misheard lyric, but the film keeps highlighting how powerful words are. News bulletins, letters, cancellation notices, Santa's phrases, Tim's tone. Olive is lifted or crushed far more by sentences than by physical obstacles. The pattern holds. 1. You're just a dog silences her for a long time. 1. We need the other reindeer is enough to send her across a frozen world. Adults see how eerily true this is. Olive isn't strong in muscle or magic, but she has a ridiculous ability to believe in words so deeply she drags reality in behind them. The older you are, the easier it is to see yourself in that. How often a single compliment, criticism, judgment, or label has pushed you farther than you realized. Part 15. The deeper truth. Olive's bigger fight is, who am I? Not, can I save Christmas? Kids watch the film and focus on whether Olive will help Santa fly and rescue Christmas. Adults, looking through Olive's eyes, see a deeper, repeated question along the way. If I'm not the other reindeer, then what am I? Just an ordinary dog? A misheard lyric? A side character in someone else's story? Every conversation, every insult, every piece of praise is a small shard she uses to answer that for herself. And although Christmas is saved by the end, the question only hurts less. It doesn't vanish. The film never says this outright, but anyone who's struggled with titles, roles, and identities can see themselves in the way Olive bites down on the word other, like it's a life raft. Part 16. An ending that doesn't truly close. Olive has to live with two names. In the end, Olive is accepted, flies with Santa, and is treated as part of the team. But when she returns to Tim, she's still the dog sleeping at the foot of the bed, still the four-legged friend of an ordinary man. The film doesn't erase the old identity or completely replace it with a new one. It leaves Olive at a crossroads, both a dog and the other reindeer. The old behavioral patterns will clearly continue. Each Christmas season, whenever the radio plays the song and someone correctly sings all of the other reindeer, Olive will still hear it the way she did that first time. Olive, the other reindeer. Adults recognize the strangest secret here. The story doesn't magically cure her unease about identity. Instead, it teaches Olive and us how to live with two names at once. Neither is completely right, neither completely wrong, but together they're just enough for a small creature to feel she deserves a place in the Christmas night.